I'm gonna kill you, like I'm gonna shoot you. That's like he was just repeating that out loud and like shouting. And hey, what's up you guys, it's Kev, and today I'm talking about something that actually just happened to me right now. The story that I'm about to tell you is something that I feel like I should be talking about right now. I actually want to use this video just for a documentary of like what has just happened to me, of the memories that I've just experienced, because I know as I go along I'm gonna probably lose like pieces of the incident that just happened. And so I figured if I make a video about this, then it's going to be easier to remember when I actually have to report back to police and people like that. So for me this is going to be my kind of video diary of what my hijacking was like. Okay, so I have my water in the background, I'm ready to do this. The time now is around Friday, it's around 9 p.m. at night, and I know I probably should be going out and, you know, being a decent like 20-something, but I felt like I just needed a night in and a breather and just to kind of recollect of what just happened to me. So last night, Thursday night, I was traveling to an event, an opening of a restaurant, or it was a restaurant menu launch or something like that. And for those of you guys who know me, like I do a lot of events, like I do a lot of restaurant reviews and like reviewing for my site, and for like a lot of freelance writing and stuff like that. So I've been working the whole day, and I thought like, let me just go to the restaurant review, like it's gonna be great, I'm gonna see my friends there, everybody was gonna be there. This restaurant was in Morningside, which for everybody in Joburg knows it's like kind of like in the city, like it's the main part, one of the main parts of the city. I don't really know, I don't really travel that side a lot to be honest, but I'm more in the Sandton area when I do work. And so the event was about to take place at like roughly around like 7 o'clock or so, 6:30 to 7 o'clock at night, and I was already running a little bit late because I needed to get home first, to drop off my stuff, just like shower, get ready, like do all these things. So what happened was I was driving down to this restaurant and I had two ways, like I could have either taken the highway or I could have either just taken the normal roads, which I normally do because I didn't want to have to deal with highways at peak traffic. And the way I was going against traffic, so there was no ways I was going to get caught up in anything. I would have been there way quicker than even Google Maps had said to me. So it was all going to be really good. So I was traveling, I'm going to get right into this. I was traveling down Republic Road, turning left onto William Nicol, and as I was turning, there's two turning lanes, and then those are yielding lanes in order to merge onto the remainder of the lanes on the right hand side. So what happened was I was on the right hand lane that needed to merge, and eventually like these lanes kind of become one. So I was at the front, there was a bunch of cars behind me, and so I was standing there, I was stationary waiting for a ton of cars like coming past me to actually like go past so I could like merge in. So I was stationary, my window was open on the side about halfway right by me, and then my window was also open on the left hand side about this much, literally. Why I do that is because my aircon is really sucky. There's no like two ways about this, I'm not being shady. My aircon is really sucky, it's really hot. I leave the window that much open on that side so air can flow through both sides, which now I know I should probably not do. I am, however, you know, very cautious that when I get to stop streets and robots, I lift both windows up, and then as I pull off again, I put both windows down. That sounds extremely tedious, but that's just who I am now as a person, especially living here. So what happened was there was nobody in sight. I got to like this intersection waiting to go. All of a sudden there was a Polo in front of me, and from where I begin now, I have very limited like recollection because of everything that happened so fast. There was a Volkswagen, if that's how you say it, VW Polo that came in front of me, and it turned on its hazards, so that was quite ahead of me. It was kind of like half on the road, half on the sidewalk, kind of part of the road, and it was hazarding. So I assumed something was going on there that was none of my business. All of a sudden, like, these guys like emerged from the polo, and there were like 4 guys, and so still I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't like paying attention because I was in the zone of like looking in my mirror to like go onto the lane. And so what happened after that was these guys approached my window, but they kind of went from that side, from like the left hand side of my car. And so I was still looking into my window. I wasn't paying any attention. I just knew that there were people there. I assumed something was going on with them. It wasn't even part of my mind. I'm not going to lie to you whatsoever. And so this guy came to my window, the one that was that much open, and he said to me, like, sorry, I'm looking for the Northwest. And now that I think back, like, the Northwest is actually a fucking province. And so I'm like being a dumbass bitch. Like, I'm literally like, sorry, like, I don't know where that is. Just because I was like so, I don't know, focused from the day and like trying to get into the other lane. I was like completely unaware of what was happening to me. And like, you can see I'm blonde. Like, that's just like who I am. That's what was happening. So I said, sorry, I don't know where it is. I turned my head and immediately this dude was here with a gun, and it was right in my face. So that's when you could kindly say that shit began to go down. So this dude was here, there was a dude here, and then there were another 2 guys, from what I could see at least, floating around the car. Immediately he said to me, give me your phone, which was my iPhone 6S. And I was in the middle console of my car, plugged into its aux cord and its charger at the same time. I like pulled both cables out at the same time and I gave it to him. And then I had a Huawei P10 Plus, which wasn't actually my phone. It was a loan phone that I was reviewing for my magazine. And that phone is a lot of money. They saw the outline of that phone in my pocket, and I had to pull that out and give it to them. They said to me, we want money, so I actually, for the first time ever, I had money on me that day, and I had a lot of money on me. I had 1,000 Rand, because initially that day I was going to the bank to deposit that money into my savings account. It was most likely money that I wasn't going to be using for anything, so I was going to put it in my savings, and yeah, I never got to do that. So I still had it in my wallet. And that crossed my mind as it was happening, so I took out my wallet. They took the wallet and they took all that money out. I probably had in total like 1,020 Rand, just like a random 20 Rand note that they took out. So yeah, like it must have been around like 700 to like 1,000 Rand, roughly around there. I don't know if I actually used a bit of that money during the time that it was in my wallet or not. Like I said, I'm being completely truthful with you guys by saying I'm not 100% sure of all the fine details that have been happening to me here. So anyways, after that happened, he took my wallet, threw it back into the car. What else he took was a pair of my Miniso sunglasses, which at the end of the day were still extremely like cheap, but they were great sunglasses, and that's why they were always in my car. Like, whenever I was like just going around town, I would put them on in the car, like wear them casually. They took a pair of my Celine sunglasses, which were very expensive, as you guys know. That was more of an investment kind of piece that I had. They opened my glove box, and there was nothing in there except for like a water bottle and like papers, nothing in there that they could actually use. So they closed that again. And then what the guy had done while he was holding the gun to my face still, he took the keys out of the ignition. And this is where I thought, like, they're gonna take my car, like they're gonna take me and they're gonna take my car, and I don't know what's gonna happen to me. Like, this was the point where I didn't know if I would ever like make it back to like the people that I know and the things that I like had known around me for so long. And this is like, that was a very quick moment for me, but it felt like forever. And so they took the keys out my car, he physically pushed down my window on the left hand side, like with his hands, so the window was pushed down. And obviously I've got like electronic like wind up down windows, not that that relates to the story, but like he pushed it down, and then they pushed down my passenger side, and I just thought, they're literally gonna like pull me out of the car now. And all while this was happening, all the cars behind me were aggressively like hooting and stuff like that. They could see what was happening, but nobody got out. And I don't hate anybody for that. Like, I'm gonna be real with you guys, I don't hate anybody for not getting out to come and help me, because at the end of the day, if it was like a single person in a car, like what could you have done against 4 guys with guns? Like, at the end of the day, it's not realistic. I don't blame anybody for not coming to help me. You know, their version of hooting was probably like the best that they could do to bring awareness to the situation. As this was happening, they said to me, open your boot. My car, if the ignition is out and the doors are open, the boot is automatically open, and I'm pretty sure it's like that for all cars. They went into my boot and they took out a leather jacket which I purchased from Bershka in London. This leather jacket was like my freaking pride and joy. Like for like a fake leather jacket, it was really expensive, and it was like really well designed and well made. And I received it in London as a gift from like my grandmother while I was there, less than a year ago. You guys know, if you go back into my vlogs, you can see I was there roughly about a year ago today. And so that was taken. Another 2 or 3 blazers were taken, like Tommy Hilfiger things that I've got. Those weren't expensive though. I got those in a thrift store. They weren't like anything that cost me a lot of money, but the fact that they were, you know, items that I had with me for so long still meant a lot to me. And inside the boot, like they took that, and they took weirdly enough, they took like my Metro card, like a Gautrain card, we call it in South Africa, which actually had no credit on it anyway. So there was no point in me losing that. I had no credit. The cards are relatively free, I think, so I can always just replace that one day when I need it. The reason why I had so many like jackets and stuff in my car was because the day before I had traveled, you saw I came back from the airport, and I generally use my car as like my going like and coming kind of wardrobe. So everybody knows like we've got 1,000 jackets in the car, like you have shoes in your car, you have all those things that you actually use all the time. And they took all of that from me. So whilst everything was going on there, the guy who was next to me was like, I'm gonna shoot you, I'm gonna shoot you, like that's, he was literally like pointing the gun like on my cheekbone area here. That's all he was saying. He was like, I'm gonna shoot you, like your wife and kids are like gonna miss you, like you're not even gonna get to see them again. And so obviously like that's quite a funny statement to make, because like I am single AF, and I'm actually like, I'm quite young. So I was saying to him, which in retrospect now I'm like a freaking idiot by saying like, Kevin, like why would you say this? I was like, I don't have a wife and kids. And then oh my god, I was like, I don't have a wife and kids. And he was like, you do have a wife and kids. And I'm like, no, I don't. And the reasoning behind this why, I don't know why I was arguing with this dude, but like, if I told him that I actually had a wife and kids, I probably would have had like 1,000 times better chance of surviving the situation than I didn't. But like, when you're faced with a situation like that, all you can give a person is the truth, especially when, you know, you've got a gun in your face. And that's all I was giving them. I was like, here's my phone, here's my wallet, like here's my money, like here's my personal information. Like I don't have a wife or kids, I don't have any of the stuff. So for me, that in retrospect now, that wasn't a wise decision, but there was like actual like no point in me, you know, like having a thought process at that time. I was just focusing on like staying alive, like, you know, things like that. So that was happening. Like one gun was being pushed into my face. This dude was like, you know, he like pulled my chin and he made me look at him, and then he like pushed it away and he was like, don't look at me. And he's just like, I'm gonna kill you, like I'm gonna shoot you. That's like, he was just repeating that out loud and like shouting. And as this was happening, I couldn't like recollect anything, I couldn't see anything. I just feel like I can't identify anything. The only thing I remember is this polo in front of me. It was like a white polo. I remember like men. I don't remember faces. I don't remember like specifics. And that's the problem. Like, you know, when you're in something like that, that's not what you focus on. And I realize that now. So yeah, you know, this is like, you know, I could kick myself that I don't remember more, but I honestly, I don't remember. And that's like what really gets to me the most, is that I can't remember details, and I'm actually quite hurt and upset by that. Like, I feel like I failed myself in, you know, potentially, you know, helping the situation. So after that, what happened was he pushed my key right back into the ignition, and because my car's an automatic, he tried to turn it on, and this is when I was like, holy shit, like they're gonna take me, I'm gonna have to like move seats, they're gonna pull me out of the car, like something's gonna happen. He was just like, he screamed at me like, turn on your car, and I pushed my car into park, I turned it on, and then he's like, drive away now. And what happened after that was I pushed it into drive, and I went, like my windows were open, my doors were unlocked, my boot had just been shut by them. I went, I didn't look for the cars coming behind me. I went full blast, and so I zoomed down all the way to this petrol station. And so I just brought it up on my lone phone now, which I'll get into. It was the Engine Hurlingham Court service station, which was pretty much, I don't know, a kilometer or less than a kilometer away from the hijacking that had just happened. So I went into the service station, and I was having like a panic attack, like I was proper shaking and like convulsing, and you know, I've had my fair share of panic attacks, but that was my first one, like in actual public, like in actual people looking at me. Basically, like I dashed for the garage to get inside, and my reasoning for that is because now I was ready to call my parents. There's always, you know, the first people you call in your life, and it's either like your spouse or it's your parents, and for me it was my parents. So I went straight inside to the engine garage, and I said, like, I was shaking, I was like breathing heavily, I was like in a real state, and I said to them, listen, can I please use a phone? I was just hijacked. And she said to me like, oh, you're the second one today. So immediately I was like, okay, well, it's not just me, this is like pretty frightening. I did not care about that at that point in time. I said, please, like I need to use a phone, I need to call my mom or dad. And she said to me like, oh, I don't have airtime, I'm sorry. So I was speaking to the cashier at this point. I don't think she really like kind of understood where my situation was coming from, but I was like, please, like, is there any phone that I can use? Like, can I speak to a manager? Can I use an office phone? There was like a landline phone behind her by the cigarette counter. And so I said to her, please, can I just use that phone? Like, I really need to call my parents. And she was like, oh no, that's like an internal phone, you can't use that, like I don't have airtime. I said, please, can you call a manager? Like I just really need help right now. And she really wasn't helping me. She was kind of like deflecting the point that I was hijacked or robbed or whatever. And why I say that now is like, I'll tell you in a few. So that was happening. She wasn't allowing me to use any phone or to have any kind of access to like a way to call my parents. And so there was a man in there now who I haven't actually yet identified or remembered his name, but I do have his number. I will be calling him probably tomorrow after this video is made to thank him for, you know, what happened. He said to me, listen, like, he grabbed a Coke and he was like, here, you're gonna need a Coke, like, this is sugar, like, grab a Coke. He bought me a Coke. He's like, here's my phone, call whoever you want. I called my mom, she didn't answer, then I called my dad, and he was like, you know, obviously he found out what happened. I said, listen, I still got my car, but everything else was taken from me. So after that, like, I said, like, I was so grateful to that man who just let me, you know, like, he just like really saved my pretty much life at that point by letting me call my parents. I did a U-turn on William Nicol, probably also super illegal, but I zoomed all the way back, and as I was going back I tried to like deliberately slow down near the incident to see if anybody was still there. Not that I could have done anything, but like nobody was there, they had gone already. I went home. The first thing I did was cry. Second thing I did was take my MacBook and I logged on to iCloud for my iPhone. I logged on to find my iPhone and it had already been switched off. I logged on to Android services from Google. The Huawei was switched off. So I blocked both phones from that point of view. Like you can block it online if any of you know that. And yeah, so I blocked those phones, and then after that I pretty much, I was devastated. Like I had nothing that I could do right there. So I logged onto my social media accounts, and this is where you guys came in. Like I posted that I'd been hijacked at this area, and I'm like, don't contact me on my phone, like rather contact me here if you need to get hold of me in the future. Because there are a lot of people who I have to text or call on the daily, like for work and stuff like that. So the last thing I wanted was for them to, you know, call and maybe pick up to somebody random who knows could be doing what with my accounts or my phone or anything like that. And a lot of you guys, like subscribers and all, were really sweet, and just like the messages you were sending me and the support and saying like, if you need anything, let us know. People were offering me like, you know, a spare car, like phones, like everything. And to me that was just really sweet. So I was really shaken up for the night, and I ended up just like falling asleep eventually. May I add, before I fell asleep, my phone came back online, the iPhone did, and it had located my phone to like roughly around Commissioner Street, which is Joburg CBD, which I was quite impressed that they had managed to get like that kind of distance in such a short amount of time. I'll place that address right here. That's where my phone was last located. So obviously I went to Google Earth and I had a look around, and you know, for me, that was like, were there flats or was it like a commercial area? I wasn't too sure, and that didn't help me because it wasn't a specific enough location to say maybe these guys live here or something like that. And for me, there was no use in actually sending that information to the police because there was no point in contacting the police at this time. Everything had happened. There was no way that I could have, you know, sped up the situation or, you know, possibly catch these guys or something like that. So what happened was the next day I woke up and my first mission was to immediately get, you know, my SIM blocked and stuff like that, which I did. I called Cell C first thing in the morning, and my second Telkom SIM card I did not block as of yet because there was no data on there. A lot of people don't know that number. That was purely just like a data SIM that I use for a spare phone for emails and social media and stuff like that. I have since got that SIM card blocked though. So what happened then was I went straight to Honeydew police station, which is very close to my house. And this is actually where the main part of the story comes in. He, and I say he because it was a man, I don't know his name because I was too upset to get it. I went inside, I patiently waited in line. The police station was very empty as it was like 7:30 in the morning. So I said to the man, and you know what, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, like anybody watching this video, please feel free to correct me. I told him that I had been hijacked, and I realize now that that may not be the correct usage of what had happened to me, but at the time that's what I felt like saying because I didn't know what else to say. Sue me if I'm wrong, by all means, like, roast me in the comments, but I had no idea what else to say. I just felt like saying, like, this is the only kind of way that I can explain the situation. I was hijacked. I can't say, oh, I was robbed in my car. Like, I don't know, that feels even worse. So I said to them I was hijacked. And first of all, he said to me, like, have you got an ITC number? So this completely slipped my mind. I did not know that I needed to get an ITC number, which means like taking your phone to a branch. So me taking like my phone box and the IMEI number to a phone kind of branch and getting them to physically block the phone and like register it as like unusable and like stolen, so that I could get this like specific code to add to a case. So that completely like slipped my mind and I didn't even think about it. And I said, unfortunately, I don't have that. And he said, well, what happened to you? So I said, what I just said to you guys, basically. And he said to me, that's not what happened to you. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he's like, and I'm not stretching the truth by any means, this is exactly what he said to me. He's like, don't come and play games, like, you weren't hijacked, you were robbed. And he's like, if you were hijacked, you would know that you'd been hijacked. You would have been taken somewhere else. And he said things along the lines of that, like, you would have been taken somewhere else, like, you would have known, you would have been beaten up. Like, he was saying things like that. And at that point in time, like, I was probably gonna have a 2007 Britney Spears breakdown moment in the middle of a police station. So mid-sentence, I stormed out of there completely. I ran to my car, and I was like completely like traumatized. Like, I sat in that car and I bawled my eyes up, because if the police are doubting what happened to me, like, who else do I believe? Who else can I tell my story to? Like, who else can I get like validation from, or like a complete like sense of like safety? If my own police station doesn't believe me, the community center that I've grown up around for what, since I was 4, maybe that's 19 years. If I can't believe them and they don't believe me, then who else do I trust? You know what I mean? So after that, I went to Douglasdale police station, which is a little bit further down, and they told me very nicely that I could not report the crime there, as I needed to report it to the station with the closest jurisdiction to my the area that it happened, and that would be Randburg police station. So at this point, I was still pretty much crying my eyes out, really upset, just like really anxious. I didn't want to be driving by myself, so I went back home and my mother and I went to Randburg together. I was thankful enough that Randburg was really empty, and it was probably around 11 o'clock, so you already kind of know that police stations fill up to the brim like during the day, just for every kind of incident that happens. Very nice lady there helped me out and sat with me for about an hour while I explained everything to her. And she kind of classified it as a hijacking, so I still don't know if that's the correct term, and you know, I have to say I'm sorry if I was using it incorrectly, but I wasn't really sure what else to call it, and the guy at the police station made me feel so guilty for that I just didn't know what to say or do. And it really does suck that, you know, somebody who I trust, in a sense, like, was supposed to help me, rather like doubted me and like belittled my situation so much to the point where, you know, he made a grown man cry, like, you know what I mean. So I was really disappointed in that. After that, I proceeded to go home and call my insurance, telling them my phone had been stolen, and I'm extremely grateful for like having insurance and like having, you know, the option to afford that as like, you know, in my life. And like, I know a lot of people who have phones and stuff don't have the option of having insurance, so I am very fortunate in saying that I won't be taking like a big loss on like things that were taken from me, you know, even though it's cash, it's like jackets, it's like, you know, clothing and stuff like that. You know, I'm gonna be okay at the end of the day, and that's the only thing that matters. And you know, the people who have supported me along the way, I've gotten messages from like friends and like people who I've known, and it just means like a lot to me that you guys have supported me so much through, you know, everything that's been happening. And as a side note, like, it really actually brings out the people who, you know, don't support you as well. Like, a lot of people who, you know, see what's happened to you and, you know, don't ask you how you are, or don't, you know, acknowledge or, you know, actually be really rude to you. Being on social media can be a really cruel thing, and so I've had a lot of hate as well as much as the love, but I know that, you know, there's more to people than, you know, what they say to me online. You know, so since Huawei was, you know, one of the phones that I had in my pocket, like that was a loan phone, I had their brand new P10 phone, which is a lot of money. It's like, I don't know, it retails for like 15 or 17,000 rand or something like that. They were extremely chilled, and they were just like focused on my well-being, and I couldn't be more grateful, because the whole time I was just extremely, scared that they, were going to be mad at me, or I was feeling really guilty because that phone is expensive and they trust me with it, and I didn't know what to do. And so, Huawei, if you're watching this, like, I want to say thank you for being really understanding. And they even went so, oh my god, I'm getting emotional. They even went like so out that they, gave me another like P8 phone just to use in the meantime, which, when you kind of get everything taken away from you, for somebody to like support you like that and, give me a device, being connected on the go when something like this happens to you is like an absolute lifesaver. And I couldn't thank Huawei enough for, doing the most and being like completely extra and like treating me so good. And thank you guys, like, just thank you so much for what you did for me. And I really mean it with my whole heart, like that, companies who support people like that, like, deserve the utmost success ever. Thank you. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much like how it happened, what happened to me. And I feel like I'm gonna put this on YouTube, and I'm probably gonna get a lot of, I don't know, maybe I might get a lot of hate for, experiencing this, or I might get a lot of understanding. I don't really know how this video is gonna be perceived by everybody, but I want you to know, like, we don't ask for these things to happen to us, and it's kind of like a pause in your life, and it really does teach you to appreciate life as is way more, to really hold on to the people who care for you, and to really not fuss a lot on the people who don't, to appreciate yourself as a human being, as a life form, more than actual material things. And to not always trust who you think you should trust. I thought I could trust the police, and they didn't help me. But what can I do? What can I say? I'm alive. I've got 10 fingers. I've got 2 arms. I've got 2 legs and 10 toes. Not much here, but I've got what matters most, and that's my life and my family and my friends. And at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. It could have been a lot worse for me. So yeah, that's pretty much my story of how I got hijacked. And I want you guys to know to please just be aware, like, don't let the everyday routine of traffic and merging onto lanes like get into your head. Be aware, please. Keep your windows closed if you have a fantastic aircon, and if you don't have a fantastic aircon, rather just, I don't know, keep one window down and keep your eye on that window. Or, I'm not going to say don't live life, like, we have to feel the wind in our hair, like, but that's pretty much what I'm going to say. And yeah, YouTube, like, giving me a platform to actually talk about this, thank you so much, my subscribers. You guys, we're tight-knit, like, you have been through everything with me. So yeah, I'm hoping that this video teaches you to appreciate life a little bit more and be extra every single day, because life is too short to be dealing with mediocre things, to be living mediocre. You never know when things can end, and that's pretty much what I want to say. Like, I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Huawei, for, brand promo, but, like, thank you guys for being people instead of a company. Thank you to Outsurance, who are gonna process the claim for my phone really quickly. I spoke to a really friendly lady today on the phone, who I'll put in the comments, because I'm gonna give her credit, like, she was really nice. Thank you to Randburg Police Station for believing me and talking to me when nobody else, aka Honeydew, would or could. Thank you to Douglasdale for giving me really good advice when I needed to, process this thing. I'm throwing shade at you, Engine, on William Nicol, for not helping me make a phone call when I needed to contact anybody. please, like, in the future, if there's somebody who comes in my situation, help them out. Like, I'm thankful that I've got, like, you know, a really strong support system. There may be somebody out there who's way worse off than me, who really needs help. Help them out, guys. Like, it's not cool to deny basic, like, phone calls and stuff to people who could really be saving lives. Like, I don't know, help people out, that's all I'm saying. But otherwise, guys, I love you lots, and I will chat to you soon. I've probably been rambling on for way too long, but I feel like I needed to tell you everything. I needed to keep this video for myself to remember everything. And I'll be chatting to you soon. I'm gonna be uploading now more than ever because YouTube is my passion, and right now I'm just really redirected to the things that matter to me. My passions, my basic, you know, relationships, stuff like that. I hope you guys have the most blessed week. Stay safe, and thank you very much for watching. I'll chat to you soon.